Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to Monster Energy Supercross 5. And we're still just getting started on the career, and it's, of course, still been a massive challenge. As I get better, the tracks get harder. Now that we're into the actual career stages and not the introductory ones. And so my improvement is less evident, but I have improved drastically. But now, also, what has happened is the first two episodes were all recorded on the same day, so I had a lot of practice over the course of that day. Now it's been about a week since I recorded that as we go to begin this episode here. So now I have a week of relapse of losing some of what I gained, and I'm gonna have to re-pick that up plus work on making gains. So my intention here as we go into the next race is, if I do find myself on a course that is particularly difficult like I was in the first race on the calendar, I will probably repeat the practice qualifying session, because 10 minutes and on that last one 10 laps was nowhere near enough to figure out the rhythm necessary to learn the course properly to be a bit more competitive. I don't need to be in the mix at this stage. I'm totally fine being slower. I'm not totally fine having no knowledge whatsoever. While I have no intention of going overboard and spending all day learning a track until I get it just right, I'm willing to commit additional time in order to the project to figure it out. But before we get into race number 2, we do have our training session available. All right, so looking at a different training session this time. There's 10 levels per training session. On the last one, we completed all of the first 3 levels with our 3 attempts. This time, what we have is follow the indicator on the track to perform the perfect flow. The more precise you are, the more the completion percentage will increase. So stay as close as possible to the flow indicator. Yeah, not a good start on that. Ooh, that's already the end. Gosh, that was really short. We're 3% short of getting 3 stars on that one, so let's go ahead and try that again. And that was all from missing the first one and being off the line. This is 1 week of rustiness. This is just how quickly it drops, because this is all inch perfect control. It's so bouncy. I have no control over this bike right now. Yeah, that was 0% that time. Oh gosh, I have some work to do to get back under control. Oh, we got 1%. Wow, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I had no idea that there was dynamic weather. It's raining, that should impact things. Two, this isn't a stadium per se. It's Daytona International Speedway. It's the front straight and the pit. They have grandstands set up in the pit. They have general admission on the racetrack itself, on the front, banked straight, and then a section of the regular grandstands in use. Now, this was certainly not active or in use 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I was watching Supercross on a regular basis. Back when, well, honestly, back when ESPN was, I think, just becoming 2 stations and not one, and they were expanding coverage, and at that time it was rugby and tennis and motocross slash supercross that were making regular appearances. There was no Premier League soccer. There was no F1 content. There was no wide variety of sports channels and sports coverage. It was pretty dang limited, and this was one of those choices. This one, along with rugby, were things that in the 90s, and actually tennis for that matter, were things that I watched on a pretty regular basis. And now, with all the different options, I became more selective as I got older. And also, of course, I was no longer a teenager, and my free time became very limited. I watched a lot less television than I did when I was 16, 17 years old. It's taken me 3 times, so I've had a half an hour worth of practice, which even then, that still only amounts to about 26, 27 laps total. So it's not a lot. But there was one section of the track that really took me a long time to get, and I only just figured it out in this last practice session. One of them I figured out right at the end of the first section and kind of got used to it during the second session, and then that last section I got it during the last. It's not an easy track, and it's a long track. It's taking me a minute and a half to complete a lap. I was a full 6 seconds off the pace. I cut that down to about 3.5 to 4 seconds off the pace. I've now cut that to 1.5 seconds off the pace. I'm still off the pace. I'm still off the back. That's going to be a thing. In particular, I'm noticing that at least now that I've had nearly 30 laps, I'm not perfect. I'm still making mistakes, and there's probably a 1.5 seconds in it based on my ability, but more so the reason why we are so far back is the level ups. There are sections where I'm hitting it exactly as I should. I have the rhythm the correct way, and I'm still coming up 5 to 10 feet short on the jump compared to everybody else. I'm in as high of a gear as I can. I have the best momentum build up, run up that I can get under the circumstances. And I am still coming up well short compared to everybody else. They are generating more speed. They are cornering faster than I am. They are flying through the air better. They're landing better. They're getting more momentum on the landing than I am. And all of that has to do with I'm still at those beginning levels and just starting to make my way down that growth chart, down that skill tree. So once that is leveled up, and once I get on a comparative level to everybody else, and remember I'm playing with the assists off and them on the highest level, which means they are nailing it perfectly for the most part, and I'm not quite nailing it perfectly. So yes, there is a skill gap that I still need to cover, but having figured out the track for the most part, I'm still making mistakes, but they are less and less frequent. Looking at that, right? And that setup, that skill tree is going to make a big difference. Once I can push a little bit further down, that in itself is going to add or shave off 2 or 3 seconds for me as I make it a little further down that skill tree and get comparative to where I can actually make the same jumps that they are making and not have to run some other pattern, which is slowing me down significantly. Not the greatest start, but for starting a week, that was kind of expected. Oh, they got into my rear end and took my wheel out from underneath me. That's going to throw off the rhythm through here? No, I'll be okay. Maybe. Oh, just had enough momentum to get over that jump. I'm already off the back because of my rear wheel getting wiped out, but part of that is on me, on that driving style of having to whip around and completely offsetting what was going on through there. That was not well under control in any way, shape, or form. Let's see if we can actually start to get a little bit of a rhythm and not get too far back and still have at least a competitive bone in us for a little while. Certainly be nice. It seems even more slippery than it was in practice, as the rear end just is fishing about a lot more than it was during practice. And that's a problem for me because I'm already struggling enough as it is. I don't need it even slippier. And you can see I'm having some struggles right now that were not present. That were not present for me earlier. But that was that last section that I figured out, and it's so tricky through there. And we're still in it. There they are. Yeah, cornering is so much trickier than it was all through practice, and that's going to be a problem for me, for sure. But you can see how much cleaner this lap is, and I've actually gained some ground on the back end of these guys, so that's fantastic. Look, it's competitive. Ish. Competitive-ish. I've made the adjustment I needed for a more slippery track than what it was. And yeah, we're off to the races. I'm going to talk you through a lap here when we get started on the next one. And talk you through kind of what I'm doing in terms of having to brake, shifting up, where I'm having to let off. There are so many tricks of the trade here to getting the lap just right. And that was not just right that time, which is going to leave me a little short here, but we are okay. Okay. All right, into the lap. So you're starting 4th gear, not quite 5th because you're a little bit off. You can kind of get to 5th there right at the end before you end up in that hairpin, but it's a little too late to do that. And so you get down to 3rd gear, make it through that corner, and then come around 3rd on the next. Boy, it's hard to talk through a lap when it goes by so quick. This rhythm section, you go from 3rd generally up to 4th, but that time I stayed in 3rd. I had enough momentum. This is a whoops where you're having to pull back, and then you set yourselves up. You could get to 5th on that one. However, air is not good there or here. This is where you want to get some air, but then immediately downshift to 4th, and then you only give a partial jump. The reason why is that next jump is much too fast, and that's the first time I've slid off there, but that's that slippery track for you. This one's a tight one, really tricky. I have not been using the wide line. I use the tight line. Here you have to brake before you go into it, otherwise you're going to get too much air, and the way the air is set up on that one is it's going to cause you to go for height and not longevity, which means it's ultimately going to slow down your lap time. And so here is that difficult bit where you need to be in 3rd and 4th, but then you need to back off a little bit here, and you need to back off. Well, you need to get back on it there. That's the tricky part of trying to get that right, because you got to set it up for this jump, because it's a triple jump, and it's really hard to get through that triple jump. Oh my gosh, am I moving up the order? I am. Munoz is now in 20th. I am not in last place, folks. There's only a minute left and then plus 2 laps. But Munoz getting very much in my way. Up to 4th gear through there to make the triple jump on that one. These doubles lead into having to brake before you hit there. Back down to 3rd. 3rd through that first one. And up to 4th just to make that double jump right there. Here's that whoops where you got to pull back. It's really easy to lose your balance and whip through. Here, you want to get your head down and push on. and get that maximum speed up through here, that 5th gear, down to 4th, so that you can make this tight turn. You want to have a little bit of speed going through there. You want to stay in 4th. You can get the gas just a little bit, but this much tighter, much harder to get the right speed. I've been playing around with kind of what to do, but here's that braking zone. Slow up, don't get too much air. And then this is that other tricky one that sometimes I can get right. You can see how the jumps are back and forth, but right now we are comfortably 19th. Time is up. Oh no! Oh, come on. What was wrong with that one? I've hit that spot many times, and you can see just how hard this section is once you are out of rhythm. Especially when you're going to come here and do that. Okay, finally back up to 4th, finally going, but oh my goodness, what a huge time loss that was. Tight corner, especially with the extra slippery. Gear, up to 4th, long jump, make that triple, yes, we're good. Okay, into these doubles, kind of just a whoops section more or less. Down to 3rd. Hit that first double, into 4th, and we're pushing, but it's whoops. Pulling back. Okay, now keep that momentum low. I'm 7 seconds off Munoz. I went from ahead of him to behind him by 7 seconds. That's harsh. That was 10 seconds lost through that rhythm section by losing it on that jump, and I've been in that same landing position 30 times, and yet we didn't make it. Gotta break. This section, it's really hard to get right. However, you don't lose much time when it's not quite there. It's half a second. Okay, here is that better rhythm, and you see how much he is struggling. Back up to 4th, with that little push. That 3rd jump is the one that you've got to adjust your rhythm on, that 3rd jump. Look how much time we made up on Munoz. So we went from 7 seconds behind. We're on to the final lap now. Final lap. And we're down to 0.2 seconds. We can do it. Come on. A battle for... I didn't get up to 4th. It's just enough. We're ahead. We were a little offline, but we got it balanced out. Keeping it low through here. We're 1.2 seconds ahead now. That rhythm. Down to 4th. Slow up enough. Make this corner. Not much gas needed through there, but just a little bit to maintain a little pace. Here we go. Down to 3rd. Tight corner. Not too hard getting on. Back out, and we've got a good rhythm this time. Slowing up. Down to 3rd. Good rhythm going. A little too long there. We're okay. Down to second. Tight corner. Here we go. Into this big rhythm. Yes. Slow up. Speed up. Oh, no. Save it. Good. Ooh, Bale was in the middle of the track. Whoa! We held on. Oh my goodness. One bike length ahead. To not be last. That's only the second time we've managed that. Look at that. My best time is 129.2. 129.2. That's still off the pace. But that is now competitive with... well, Derek Kelly on back. All these 128s, couple 130s. Not last. A little bit quicker on time. A little more consistent. If we had not lost 10 seconds on that one lap, and if we hadn't been wiped out early on that first lap, those 2 little sequences right there cost me at least 15 seconds. 15 seconds should have been enough to not only get well clear of Munoz, but to get up with Crown, Sipes, Schwartz, and possibly have been ahead of a couple of them. It's not enough to get out to the main event. It's still last chance qualifier, but it's competitive time. With only 4 riders making it through, even though this is the slower group and there's more slower riders out here. Better hole shot this time, but still not enough to get ahead, but we'll cut to the inside. Oof. Contact. Oh, and we both get wiped out here. I hit that guy on the inside, shoved me to the outside, and then that was the same guy I had already made contact with, but we end up into each other and both go down. There is Munoz now. This time we're at least not as far back as we were after we went down on that first lap. Oof, again, slippery. It's like we're struggling to find some grip here early on. But we are back in the mix. We are out of last place. Almost pushed that too wide. Cost me 1 spot. Here's Crown. There's Harmon. There's the guys that I was looking at, the ones that were at the back that were a little slower. But we are so in this battle right now. A little too much speed. Oh no! Munoz gets underneath me. Somehow he stays on the bike, even though my tire was treading on his back. See how getting that rhythm right, all of these slower riders, ultimately riders like myself that aren't quite as good, the faster riders are hitting the rhythm the way I'm hitting the rhythm, but I've made it work. Munoz has moved up, cut to the inside of him, push him out of the way, tight here. Oh, it's enough, we're okay. We're still in this thing, at least competitively, that is. We're nowhere near top 4. I'm not worried about top 4 at this stage. This is all about not being last and staying competitive and being able to race with these guys for a little bit. Oh my goodness. That was scary. He goes down in a heap. Tough landing, but we get through that one. Light on the gas. And gas gun, we keep him close. There's that tight. This is where I gain time, but then I lose time on the exit. So I gain time on entry going that way, but ultimately it balances out, so it works for me as long as I'm not getting that. Oh! Kelly just wipes me out. He gets the tread on my back in the way that I got Munoz earlier. Munoz stayed on his bike just fine. I went down instantly. That is not fair for me that they're able to get through that. Oh no. That was back and forth and I just about made it work. And that's putting me into last place. But they are still right there. Absolutely have a chance to get back up to this group of 4 and get back into the mix. But we're down to 36 seconds plus 2 laps. So this is very much the end of things here. Oh no. There's my first proper mistake. That was very avoidable. Now it's just bad luck setting in. Alright, so we're off the back. Let's go ahead and speed up these last 2 laps here. Whew. Okay, well, that one
This
did not
evening's
go according to
LCQ
plan
winds
at
up with
all.
these results.
We were
The wait
absolutely
is
in that
over.
battle
The main
for
event is
a
about
long
to
time.
begin.
My
Stay with us.
best time
The
never
Monster
matched anybody
Energy
else. It was
AMA
only 5 laps, and
Supercross
3 of those
continues.
laps were run solo. The next to last lap, or sorry, the second lap is where the big incident happened that pushed me back. And so the first lap, that involved that crash that put me to the back, but then put me right in the mix, in the battle, fighting all the way through until just before the end of the second lap. That was the good stretch, right? And I was battling, and I was not at the back. In fact, I was fairly high up the order. I mean, I was somewhere around 14, 15, 16 through that stretch, because there's Rascon, there's Munoz, there's Crown. I mean, I left Crown behind and went up ahead. I was with Rascon. I was with Derek Kelly. Derek Kelly is actually the one who rode my back and wiped me out. That was the incident that dropped the rhythm. And then after that, I lost my cool a little bit. I lost my concentration a little bit. And that's how difficult this thing is with all of those bonuses off. It's really, really tough. If you have less than 100% concentration, boy, oh boy. And that's what happened to me. I got off the back, and then I was desperate to catch back up instead of just maintaining concentration, maintaining focus, maintaining a rhythm, and chipping away at it. I wanted to get all that time back instantly, and that was stupid of me, because I've already seen that I can run in the 129s. I never got within 10 seconds of that on that last chance qualifier, because I was trying to push to make it a 128. I was desperate to be that little bit faster instead of just being consistent. And consistent is good enough. Pushing that little bit too hard, well, Formula One this weekend is in Saudi Arabia. Last year, the qualifying, Lewis Hamilton had the faster car. Max Verstappen knew that. And instead of taking a good, solid second place, he was desperate. And he pushed, and he pushed, and he pushed, and he squirmed his way through the first sector and through the second sector. And his team principal said that the third sector, you could sleep through that thing. And Max Verstappen on the last corner pushed too hard and slammed into the wall and wiped himself out. He ruined his race. He ruined what people were arguing was the best qualifying lap ever. He didn't even finish the lap. That's not the best qualifying lap. Just like where I pushed a little bit harder and I suffered because of it. You have to maintain the limits. You have to know the limits. Last race, I knew the limits. This race, I pushed too hard. And I suffered a lot as a result. That's 2 races in the books. I was more competitive on yet an even harder track. I figured the track out though, so hopefully as we continue on, we will find that balance and I will compete at the back end. Now, I should have some growth here. I have leveled up a couple times. I might just be able to get a couple more skill upgrades going. The one nice thing about playing in a super hard difficulty level, at least I think this is a result of that, I'm picking up skills a lot faster, which means I'm building up my skill level. I'm leveling up a whole lot faster than I would be if we were playing on easy. At least that's my understanding of how this skill tree works. If that's the case, then yes, we are leveling up a lot faster, which is going to make it possible to shave that time off and get competitive. But again, long term, I have to really improve my skill level. I had done that. I showed that off for a while with the first round, with putting in a really solid time. But part of that had to do with I wasn't in the pack. I wasn't riding in the pack. I had one rider to compete with in Munoz there towards the end that I had caught up to and passed, but we didn't do a lot of direct head-to-head racing. That last chance qualifier, I was right in the middle of the pack, and I was very much doing that for just shy of 2 laps. And then it all went to hell. But, you know, we were good for 2/5 of of that race. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. If you have not done so, this is the last episode where it really matters. The first 3 of any series in a playlist, they are the ones that are most relevant to bringing in new viewers to a series. After that, it's entirely up to you as an audience member whether you continue watching or not. You're not going to get new viewers after about episode 4. So do please take a second, drop down, click that like button, leave a comment, whether it's just for the algorithm or what you think of the series so far, or what you think of the game, or my presentation style for that matter, whatever the case may be. Do leave a comment along with that like, and if you have not done so, please subscribe, as it greatly helps out the channel. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.